so in this video we're gonna have an owner's review of the i3 and a review by someone that's not an owner, an outsider review. Alright, before we get started, please consider subscribing, liking, and then also let us know how we're doing in the comments below, or any suggestions you may have as to how we can improve. But first, let's get this thing cleaned. It's pretty dirty. I don't know if you guys can tell on camera. So let's go do that now, and then we will get started with the review. There's only one way to go. Not too bad. Oh, not bad at all. Alright, thank you. Should we run it in neutral?
I don't know if you can. I wouldn't do it.
Dude, everything stopped.
What'd you do?
I didn't do anything.
Did you rev it?
No.
Oh.
Well, I did, but it's in neutral. Oh, they turned it back on. So let's get this review started. The first thing I'd like to talk about are these tires. You can see they're very skinny, so they don't have a lot of grip. Another issue with them is that they last about 20,000 miles or 2 years. That is not very long for tires. Usually they last around like 60,000 miles, I think. So this is really bad. And these tires are not usually in stock. You have to order them in advance. This is the only car that uses this tire size. Doesn't make sense for stores to keep them in stock because there's not very many of these cars. So another big factor in the purchase of an electric car is range. This car is one of the earlier i3s, so it has a range of about 80 miles, or at least it's supposed to. Now this car has about 40,000 miles now. There is battery degradation. We are getting about 60 to 65 miles of range, which is actually unusual for this car. Other cars with similar mileage or even more mileage get more range. They're still close to like 75 to 80 miles of range, which I don't know what's wrong with this car. So when we first got this car, we were actually getting the EPA estimated 80 miles of range. In the winter of 2018, the range drastically dropped. A full charge was only getting us about 40 miles or so. So it dropped in half, which was kind of hard to deal with. So we took it into BMW, they did a little software reset, and they were able to get the car up to 60 miles, which is still not the 80 miles that it's supposed to get. It hasn't been too bad because we have a charger at work, and we can also charge at home if we need to, but we rarely need to since we can just charge at work, come home, and then go back and charge at work the next day. We don't use this car over the weekend really. The range hasn't been an issue for us, but that depends on each person and their needs for a car. Whenever you look at this car and its limitations, you have to keep in mind that this car was built for this city, and 80 miles of range I think is plenty to go to work and come back. Let's move on to the interior now. So as you guys can see, there's no door handle on the outside for the back door. Door handle is actually right here, but you can't open it without opening the front door first. And there is no B-pillar on this car. I think this door kind of acts as a B-pillar when it's closed. It's really thick, so a lot of people are not used to the fact that these doors open like this. So if someone else is in the front and someone's getting out from the back, the person that gets out of the front might immediately just close their door as soon as they get out, but as you can see, it didn't close. And that's because the latch for this door, which would normally be in the B-pillar, is in the rear door. So you can't close the front door unless the back door is first closed. Another thing that might happen sometimes if someone's not used to it is they might close that and then close this as well, but that's obviously not going to work. So that sounded like the door just closed, as you guys heard, but if you look, it didn't actually close. You're not going to know that though because it's latched in such a way that the car doesn't know the door's open. So you'll just go, you'll close this, and everything's fine. So the front door's closed, the back door's closed. The car thinks everything's okay because this is still kind of pushing on the sensor, but you guys can tell it's not actually latched in fully. And you'll start driving, and as soon as you take a turn, a right turn, this door will move out of the way and the car is going to start beeping and telling you that a door's open. You're going to try to open these and close them again, but this door will still be open. Alright, let's say you got a car full of 4 people and someone in the back needs to get out. There's someone in the front, but you can't actually, the seatbelt is on the B-pillar, so the people can't get out unless the person in the front takes the seatbelt off and then they open the door. And you also have to open the front door first. They can't open the back door without opening the front door. So it's just a whole process. So another issue with this car is the USB charging port. It takes a really long time to charge. My phone is at 54%, but it's showing 3 hours until it's done charging, which it shouldn't take that long. normally. So another really weird thing, I don't know why they did this, but they put a 12-volt charging outlet below the, like, all the AC controls and all of that. I didn't even know about that until I was watching a YouTube video. I mean, you can't really see that when you're just driving along normally, and you wouldn't expect the charging port to be down there. This is a BMW, so you would expect the quality to be a little bit higher. It's not the case with the i3. They kind of cheaped out on the material. This car only has 40,000 miles. The leather is starting to peel. The paint on this little plastic piece is starting to peel. Based on the size of the car, you might think the rear legroom is very little. I have this seat set to where I would sit normally, and I still have a decent amount of legroom. It's pretty much like it would be in any other coupe. So this is a small car, it's gonna have a small trunk, but I was still able to fit inside of it, surprisingly. The seats were up and reclined, even though the trunk is pretty small. Oh, look, they have another 12-volt charging socket back here, cigarette lighter port. The trunk is small, but this car is electric and there's no engine in the front. It has a front trunk as well. Let's go take a look at that. This is very small and very unusable because for some reason BMW decided not to weatherproof it. Anytime it rains or you go through a car wash, water gets inside and it gets really dirty, so you don't really want to put anything here. And this is the fix-a-flat kit since this car doesn't have a spare tire. So this car does not have a spare tire. It tells you not to put anything on this. There's a little no suitcase thing. And if you were to remove this aluminum, I think it's aluminum, if you remove this aluminum panel, you'll be able to see straight down under, like you'll be able to see the ground. Beneath this is where the electric motor is held.
2,000 years later.
So as you guys can tell, it's a whole different season. The leaves are back on the trees. We weren't able to film this video in the same day, so that's why you guys are gonna notice some differences, like me wearing something different and the car's dirty again. We just missed a few points which we noticed while editing, so we're just adding those in now. I'd like to talk about the pros. One of the things I really like about the car is how you can drive with just the accelerator pedal, which is really convenient for stop and go traffic because you don't have to keep moving your leg back and forth. If you want to slow down, you just let off the throttle and the car will start to slow down, and then you can just add more throttle if you want it to slow down slower or start speeding up again. Okay, another pro would be the app. It lets you lock and unlock the car. Actually, let me just show you guys a demo. Alright, so let me go over the app with you guys really quick. This is a list of all the features that are available. You can locate the car if you ever lose it in a parking lot. You can send an address to the car so that the navigation will be ready by the time you hop in. You can schedule charging. You use the schedule charging feature when there's peak charging hours where you're charged more for electricity. You can set it so that the car doesn't charge within that time period. So it helps you save a little bit of money. You can lock and unlock doors. You can check if the doors are locked or not. You can also turn the AC on. You can turn the heater on. You can honk the horn if you ever need to find it in a parking lot or a parking garage. You can flash the headlights, which is another way of finding the car without making any noise. You can check the charge status, how much range you have, and it calculates this range based on how you drive, so it should be relatively accurate. And you can check how many miles are on the car. But the one problem I do have with this car, or with this app, is that it's really slow to respond. So I'm gonna go ahead, it's unlocked right now. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the lock button, and you guys will see how long it's gonna take to actually lock. I just heard it lock, but as you can see, the app has, okay, now it says successful. Let me show you guys how long it takes to flash the headlights. So as you guys saw, that took way longer than it should have. You probably would have found the car by now already just by walking around. So yeah, there's the app for you guys. Another advantage would be the use of the HOV lane. Here in Arizona, or in any state that has an HOV lane, you have to have at least 2 people in the car. but with an electric car, you get a special license plate, which allows you to go in the HOV lane by yourself. So to conclude my portion of this review, I'm very satisfied with this car. We mostly use it as a commuter car just to get to work or to school and back. It's really nice for driving in stop and go traffic. It's really easy to switch lanes since it's so small. I guess that's like a benefit of having any small car, not just this one. I really like how responsive it is when I do switch lanes in traffic. That's going to be it for my portion. Now let's get the opinion of a non-EV driver.
So I'm going to be sharing a little bit of my perspective, go over some things that I don't like and some things I like about the i3. I'm going to talk about some of the things I don't like about the i3. One thing I don't like is the range that this car has. It has around 80 miles of range. It's alright for city driving, but if you own a gasoline car and have like 300 miles of range on one tank, you kind of get a little bit of range anxiety. It's not that big of a deal. I know that I can go everywhere I want to in a day with 80 miles, but it's just a little, I guess, a psychological thing. The next thing I don't like about this car is usually in an automatic car, when you let go of the brake pedal when you're stopped, it usually coasts a little bit, but in this car, when you let go of the brake pedal, it won't coast forward, it won't crawl forward. So it's a little bit of a weird quirk, I guess, of this car. It's gonna be a little different if you switch from a gasoline car to an electric car like the i3. Another thing I noticed about this car pretty recently is that when I sit down in the car, I usually like having my legs like this, a little bit closer to me. I don't know if you can see this, but this little bar right here is hitting my leg. My leg goes back a little bit and it's kind of uncomfortable, which is one thing I don't really like. As you can tell, this is not that appeasing to the eyes. I hate to say it, but a little bit ugly. I don't really know what they were thinking when they were making this car. Maybe this material is really light and it's an electric car. They need to get the range as high as they could with the amount of space and the battery that they have. That might be the reason why they chose to go with these cheaper materials. I don't really like that part of the car. Let's take this for a little spin. As you can tell, it doesn't really coast. Even downhill, it's applying the brake right now. The throttle is a bit weird, mostly because it's an electric motor. You definitely get used to it. The weird thing is, you let go of the throttle and it starts applying the brake. It's a little weird to drive. You don't even need a brake, really.
Yeah, but like, that's definitely something you can get used to.
Yeah, it's definitely something you get used to, but just someone, like, if you let someone drive the car, it's
gonna be weird at first. It was weird for me at first, but now I really like it.
Let's take this little turn. Okay. I definitely thought the torque would be a little more. Another thing that I really don't like about this car is that the seat position is really far back from the window. It's just different. It's not bad, it's just different. That's all. Well, when's the last time you changed the blinker fluid?
Right before we started this video.
Alright. I'm already kind of getting used to the braking. It's definitely weird, but definitely getting used to it a lot more. I'm way more comfortable with it than when I started out. Another thing that's a little different is that this window right here is extremely, like, goes extremely high up.
One thing about that is you can't actually use a normal car sunshade. It won't fit because the windshield is so big. So we had to get a custom sunshade made. So you've made it to the end of another video. I hope you liked the video. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if we missed anything or if you have any additional questions, go ahead and comment down below and we'll make sure to get back to them.
And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays.